Hey guys, Scott here. Today I want to talk about one of my favorite Ashes of War in the game, especially for anti-ganks, which is Black Flame Tornado. And this is the one that you get from the Godskin duo. So it's a very late game Ash, but people can drop Ashes of War. So if you have a friend that wants to drop it for you, you can do that. So, but it is one of my favorite anti-gank tools in the entire game because first of all, they recently buffed it. So they buffed it so you can actually cancel this whenever you want. Not whenever you want, but basically you don't have to go through the full animation. So starting this, seeing they're not in range, and then just going, oh, okay, whatever, and rolling away. Super, super useful. It's a very low risk maneuver now. But you still have to use your brain. This Ash is not really like, Rivers of Blood with Corpse Piler, where you can just turn on someone and press L2 and just, be a monkey and kill people. You have to be smart. You have to bait people into it. So typically what I'll do, I'll intentionally miss a swing so they come to punish me, and I'll immediately follow up here, and I'll poise through one hit, and then they're stuck in the vortex. Now, the best part is once you're actually stuck inside the vortex, you can't get out. You're pretty much just stuck there until the animation is over. No amount of poise will really prevent that once you start getting stunned in it. Now, the only things that will change that are if you're in like a hyper armor attack. Like if you're using, Marika's hammer and you do that big, slam on the ground, that's got basically infinite hyper armor, so you can jump right through it and be fine. But other than that, pretty much no amount of poise will stop you from eventually getting stunned by the full animation. And once you're stunned, you're stunned for the full thing. And the full thing, like this whole first part before the slam, does easily 1800 damage if you optimize it properly, which is enough to one-shot most people. But the best part is the follow-up slam right here. It doesn't matter when you roll, you still get hit by it. No matter what you do, you still get hit by it unless you're at the very, very edges of the initial animation. So if you're next to me and I do this, it doesn't matter when you roll. There is no panic rolling it because the hitbox lasts so long, it lasts longer than a roll. So if you roll late, you just get hit by the lingering hitbox. If you roll early, you just get hit by the slam itself. And so that easily brings it up to 2,500 damage. And then it's going to one-shot pretty much everyone in the game, regardless of their health. Even if Morgoth's Great Rune, it's still probably going to one-shot them. And all you have to do is just build for it properly. So how do you build for it properly? Well, you pretty much need to stay with the Flame Art infusion path. You'll notice when you actually infuse this thing, at first it stays as the Flame Art. And Flame Art is that sort of weird fiery scaling where it scales with faith and basically removes all other scaling from the weapon. So it becomes an entirely faith-based weapon. Now, this is both good and bad. Bad because your base damage is probably going to be a bit lower. But it's good because it means you only have to focus on faith. You don't need anything else. Now, obviously, this build is 250 because I'm invading at 250 because it's extremely fun and stupid. You don't need that, though. If you want to do this at, like 125 or whatever. So this is what the build will be at 125, pretty much. 58 vigor and then enough endurance for some poise. And then you want 65 faith. You're going to wear the +5 faith talisman and then use the +10 faith crystal tier, which gets you up to that hard cap of 80 faith. And that allows you to get the maximum damage from the Flame Art infusion path. The strength and dex, you just need the base requirements to end the weapon. That's it. Because it's barely scaling with those stats at all. It's going to scale almost entirely with your faith. And that's true of basically every weapon in the game when you go with the Flame Art infusion path. If you want to do this at 150, I would just get more mind. Something like, I don't know, max that out. And that's more of like a 150 path. So now you can have enough mind. Honestly, you can just be a straight up caster too now. So now you're like a super hybrid that has this extremely powerful weapon art, but you're also casting spells at full potential because you have 80 faith and you can use the Erd Tree seal, which is going to be one of the highest scaling seals in the game with 80 faith. So you can really cover all your bases there and do a lot. Now, other than that, the actual talismans that you want to use, obviously Shard of Alexander. This is going to be for your scaling damage with Ashes of War. This is a no-brainer. You definitely want to keep this on regardless. Now, Godfrey Icon, because you can charge this ability, actually affects the damage of it as long as you do the entire thing. Now, this has been a mixed bag because it's, you know what, I'm not even going to recommend it right now because I'm not 100% sure if it actually works or not because there's a lot of weird, interesting things that go on with the damage. And sometimes I do the same damage with it, and sometimes I do more with it on. It's hard to say, and I know it's based a lot off of the residual damage over time effect that it has, but it's become very hard to test whether or not this actually works. So I'm just going to say ignore this for now, because it one-shots it without it. You don't even need it. And that's pretty much it. You just pretty much need Shard of Alexander. It's a very low requirement to one-shot people. It just does that much damage by default, and that is why it is so insanely strong. So that's pretty much the only talisman you need. Other than that, you don't need much else. Now, the actual tactics of hitting people with it, you have to be smart. Like I said, this is not just like Rivers of Blood where you can just turn around, do it, and kill somebody. You need to bait someone into it because the wind-up is, you got about a second of wind-up before they're stuck into it, right? So typically what I like doing, especially if you're getting 3v1'd, run behind a wall and just do it. Usually in a 3v1, people are so eager to try to come kill you, they'll just run into it and kill themselves, and they can't do anything about it. That's the thing, though. You need to be smart. You can't just run out into an open field and then just, like, you know, just go, hey, look, guys, I'm just doing it, and then 2 mages shoot you in the face. You need to use cover and bait people into your range. In a 1v1 scenario, to bait people in it, my favorite thing to do is intentionally miss a jumping attack and then immediately channel it right after. So they come to try to punish your jumping attack, and then even if they trade with you, they're stuck in the animation now, and then they're just straight up dead. Now, if they've got like an ultra greatsword, you obviously can't poise through that, so that becomes a bit more interesting. But in terms of your Wondrous Physic, I would say the best crystal tiers to bring are the fire damage, because, I mean, you actually just want to stack this multiplicatively. That's very much worth it, because it's going to increase your fire damage by 15%, and it does pure fire damage, so that's very important. The second most important thing, I think Crimson Royal Bubble Tier is the best complement to this, because you can lock down one guy, but if there's mages shooting you in the back while you're standing still, you're going to get destroyed. However, Crimson Royal Bubble Tier gives you, like, what, 15 seconds of effective immunity to magic. So even if mages are wailing on you, you just keep spinning and you don't care. It's been probably the most successful combination of tiers I've used, because not having to care about mages while I focus down one guy and kill him is super, super useful. And then when there's 1 or 2 people left, well, then you don't have to worry about it anymore. So very, very useful there. Finally, the only other thing you're going to have to really do is cast Flame Grant Me Strength. You're going to have 80 faith, so this is a no-brainer. There's no reason to not do this. It only costs 15 faith to use. It doesn't even cost that much FP to use, so if you do that, and then you stack with your flask, even without the insane amount of strength I have right now, you're probably going to be about 1,000 AR, which is quite hefty, and this is just with the Knight Rider Glaive. It pretty much is going to work with any weapon. I think a bit more like casting a spell than using the weapon to attack, so it really doesn't matter what weapon you throw this on. It's going to do the same amount of insane one-shot damage regardless of what you put it on. But that is pretty much it. That's how to build this properly. Basically just hit 80 faith, base requirements for the weapon, go Flame Art, stack Flame Grant Me Strength, Fire Crystal Tier, Shard of Alexander, and you're good. You're going to one-shot anybody that walks into it, and there's pretty much nothing they can do about it. So that is it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.